Let's talk about something that I see happening in the dance world, the debate between strength versus flexibility and which one is more important. I think that a lot of dancers, and just like the dance world in general, has placed such an emphasis on flexibility and then said, oh yeah, but like strength training is going to make you bulky, and like dancers don't need to strength train, dancers don't need to lift weights, you already do enough of that in class. No, that is not what we're talking about here, okay? We're talking about what happens at the muscles and why your body needs strength and flexibility in order to be a long-lasting dancer and keep your body injury-free and execute the skills well, right? Okay, so today in this video, we're breaking this down. We're talking all about strength and flexibility and which one it might be better for some skills, which one might be better for other skills. And we're just gonna talk about those differences. And if you're somebody that has been a little bit skeptical of trying strength training before, I want you to use this video as kind of a way to see both sides and really eventually, I mean, I'm a little biased, but by the end of this video, I hope that you're able to be more inspired by adding some strength training into your routine or maybe some flexibility into your routine. So first, let's start off by saying what flexibility training even is. This is when we see a lot of stretching that happens in dance classes, or we see other types of flexibility training, which might include some mobility, looking at like the joint itself. We see flexibility as being a combo of the joint range of motion and the muscle extensibility. So those two things together is how we get flexibility. How we get more flexible is by stretching, but we also want to be stretching consistently and not stretching for too long. I see a lot of dancers doing too much stretching, and I think that that poses a big problem for them because their muscles are stretched out, and then what happens when we stretch for too long or we're stretching over and over every single day for long periods of time is we see more of the ligaments getting stretched out, especially those ligaments behind the knee, and we don't want those ligaments to get stretched out because they are meant to provide stability for the joint. So anyway, that was a little tangent, but flexibility training, stretching the muscles, okay? Strength training is working on the strength of those muscles, so how much force those muscles are able to produce. When we're looking at strength training, we're looking at lifting weights, but we're also looking at any kind of resistance training. So maybe that is like some resistance band. Maybe it's Pilates. Maybe it is body weight work, such as yoga. Body weight work will give you that stimulus for a certain amount of time until your body gets strong enough, and then you're gonna wanna use more resistance to actually gain more strength. But when we see the strength training, there's a big fear around strength training, and I think it stems from getting too bulky and not really knowing how to step into the gym or not really knowing how to do strength training. I think a lot of dancers feel comfortable doing a bunch of stretches because it's been so ingrained in us ever since we've taken our first dance class. There's stretches that we do constantly, and stretching is just historically a big part of dance, but strength is not. So when we're looking at strength training, we're looking at how much force the muscles can produce, and then we want to be able to produce more power so then it gets easier to jump up to the sky, right? Or easier to balance on one leg or push off of the floor with ease. We're looking at those things and how they translate into dance training specifically. Now, when we're looking at how strength and flexibility actually complement each other, we're looking at what's happening at the muscles themselves. So if I am stretching my muscle as much as I can, there's not going to be a ton of opportunity for strength there. Imagine if you were stretching a rubber band and you stretched it out as far as you could stretch without breaking. And then you kind of let the muscle go and let the band, the rubber band go. And it's not as, it doesn't go back to its like original shape as easily. Same thing with if you stretch it all the way out, it's going to be more likely to break because I'm stretched all the way to its fullest extent. Now imagine I had a thicker band, a thicker rubber band, and I stretched it out to the same distance as the other one, but because this one is a lot thicker, it's less likely to break, less likely to tear, less likely to snap. That's how I like to think of your muscles. We can have all the flexibility we want and stretch it out as far as we can, but if we're not strong, we're also increasing our risk of injury. So when we have more muscle, more like girth to the muscle, and then we stretch it out, we're able to find that flexibility and still keep the strength and the force that you need to produce a certain dance movement, okay? So now when we're looking at strength and flexibility, it is possible to have one without the other, but if you're doing both a combination of strength and flexibility, they should be helping you get better in each category. They should complement each other. So if I'm doing strength training and I'm only doing a lunge, like a tiny little bend like this, instead of lunging all the way down, all the way up, it makes sense that we're not lengthening our muscles as much as we can, or lengthening the joint as much as we can. So we want to be using full range of motion when we're doing strength training. And then when we're doing flexibility training, we want to make sure that we are using the right protocols for the type of stretching. So we have something called static stretching, which is what we're probably most familiar with, just getting into a stretch and holding it. And when we're looking at static stretching, we want to hold it for no longer than 30 seconds, okay? I don't want to see you be doing wall splits for 5 minutes, okay? Or holding over splits on a yoga block for a whole song, all right? I want you to pay attention to how your body feels. Hold it for 30 seconds. Relax, take a break, do another 30 seconds, relax, take a break, maybe do another 30 seconds, okay? So 2 to 3 sets or rounds, 30 seconds of that hold. If you're doing something like dynamic stretching, you will see more of 2 to 3 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions on each side. And this would be things like leg swings or inchworms, where we crawl out to a plank and crawl back in. You might see something like self-myofascial release with a tennis ball or with a foam roller. And as we're rolling out through those muscles, that is a way to also increase flexibility. And over time, we are increasing that length and increasing the resting length of the muscle, okay? So when we're looking at strength and flexibility, each one is equally important in dance. In my opinion, you can't have one without the other and still expect to be a good dancer. You need to have both, because if you are only flexible and you are not strong, you have probably less chance of getting injured. If you are only super strong, but you're not very flexible, it loses a little bit of the aesthetic and alignment and technique of dance itself, whether you're doing ballet, jazz, tap, contemporary, hip hop, African, whatever it might be, depending on what you need with the leg or with an arm to get up there, or how deep in a plie you need to be. If you're lacking in that mobility and flexibility, it's going to affect the art form and what it looks like on your body, okay? Now, I'm not saying to go crazy. I just want you to have a balance of strength and flexibility training in your schedule. So maybe that looks like doing strength training twice a week, doing flexibility twice a week. Maybe that looks like doing strength training once a week because that's all you can fit in. That's okay. A little goes a long way. Just make sure that you are training those muscles with enough resistance to really stimulate growth, okay? I could go on and on about this subject, but I think we've answered the question that strength and flexibility, there is not one that is more important than the other. You need both for dance. And even if you're not a dancer, you need to be still working on strength and flexibility for everyday life, for muscular imbalances, to be pain-free in some cases, to be able to do everyday life things like pick up your kids off the ground, or play with your kids in the backyard, or play adult sports, whatever that might be, okay? So my goal for you, my challenge for you, is to keep working on your strength, keep working on your flexibility, even if it is a little bit. Even if you can just add 30 minutes once a week, that's okay too. And if you need help with adding some of that strength training into your schedule, I'm here to help. I have plenty of programs and online training programs and plans that are here to help you. I'll put some more information in the description as well. And make sure you check out my Instagram for loads of exercises that you can follow and learn add it to your tool belt to be able to use on your own workouts or before dance class. I hope this video was helpful, and go out there and do some strength training.